Stay tuned, metal fans, as I go through my top 10 favorite metal albums of 2025. And as I do every year, I'll also throw in my honorable mentions, as well as albums others are talking about but just didn't make my own list. So, all of that coming up. So like every year, I added up all of the vinyl I bought in 2025, and this time that number is 106 albums, so about 49 fewer records than last year. And out of all of those, we're going to be talking about at least 10 of them, and others outside of my top 10 as well. As always, if I didn't buy the album on the vinyl format, then it's not in my top 10. So if you comment below, please keep that in mind. Also, a few other notes about my list here. First off, no EPs, no compilations, no reissues, and no live albums. My list will be for new studio full-length albums only. Also, as I do every year, I want to stress the subjectivity of my list. This is my list and not necessarily yours. Of course, you're always welcome to make your own list and put it in the comments of this video. And in fact, I would actually encourage that. And as always, I don't watch any other top 10 metal album videos here on YouTube before shooting this. I like to think that makes my list relatively unbiased. Also, I want to briefly run through my honorable mentions before we get to my top 10 proper. These are albums that just barely fell off the main list and are very much worth your time. Starting off with Leak, this is their fourth studio album entitled Necro. They are Swedish death metal. Favorite tracks are Deceased, They, and In Ruins. Of course, I also have to mention Maceration and their third studio album, Serpent Devourment. They are Danish death metal. Favorites are Serpent Devourment, Where Leeches Thrive, and Revolt the Tyrant Dream. Also in 2025, we got the second studio album from Misfire. This is Product of the Environment. They are American thrash metal. Favorite tracks are Day to Day, We Went Through Hell, and Living the Dream. Next is Pyre with their third studio album, Where Obscurity Sways. They are Russian death metal. Favorites are From the Stygian Depths, Murderous Transcendence, and Writhing Souls. Also, you should check out the second studio album from Mean Mistreater entitled Do or Die. They are American heavy metal. Favorites are One Survivor, Do or Die, and Release the Wolf. Of course, you should check out the third studio album from Night entitled Cult of the Serpent Sun. They are American blackened heavy metal. Favorite tracks are Crow, Fear the Night, The Last Blade, and Tarmut. And let's not forget the seventh studio album from Hooded Menace called Lachrymose Monuments of Obscuration. They are Finnish death doom. Favorites are Pale Masquerade, Portrait Without a Face, and Lugubrious Dance. And honestly, this would be my number 11 because it's really an amazing record. It barely fell off my top 10. So with that, let's get to my top 10 metal albums of 2025. My number 10 choice is from a thrash band from the great state of Louisiana here in the US, with some high-energy riffs and old-school influences. And while their 2019 debut record gained them some attention, it's their sophomore release that's truly a force to be reckoned with. So let's talk about that album entitled Forbidden Morals. This is Void. So the album blends early 90s thrash aggression, landing somewhere between early Annihilator and early Forbidden, with flashes of nasty savage eccentricity and a strong sense of atmosphere and theatricality. The guitars balance off-kilter thrash riffing, melodic precision, and a heavy neoclassical influence that recalls the darker, more dramatic side of King Diamond, giving the record a distinctly gothic thrash identity. High-pitched, screamy vocals, frequent shifts between groove and speed, and harmonized leads keep the songs dynamic, while cinematic horror elements and acoustic passages add depth and mood. Despite the elegance and shred, the album never loses its bite, delivering plenty of headbang-ready riffs and gang-shout energy, and ultimately wrapping everything into a dramatic, epic finale that showcases the full scope of the band's sound. Favorites include Forbidden Morals, Judas Cradle, and Apparition. So at number 10 is Forbidden Morals by Void. At number 9 is an album from a legacy German thrash metal band that sets itself apart from the American sound with its darker, nastier, and more minor key riffs, along with neoclassical touches, while never compromising speed or aggression. Fast forward over 40 years later, and there seems to be no sign of them letting up, as evidenced by their 16th studio album, Birth of Malice. This is Destruction. So this record delivers classic German thrash metal with all the hallmarks fans love: staccato chugs, gang vocals, and high-speed shredding solos that run throughout the album. The production is clean and heavy, letting every riff and solo hit with clarity, while the band balances old-school aggression with modern touches that sometimes echo their peers like Creator. There's a sense of reflection and history in the songwriting, giving the album both nostalgia and forward momentum, and even the closing cover fits seamlessly into their thrash sound. Overall, it's a powerful, tight, and energetic statement that showcases Destruction at their signature best. Favorites include Destruction, Scumbag Human Race, and Chains of Sorrow. So at number 9 is Birth of Malice by Destruction. My number 8 choice is from a Canadian thrash metal band that started out doing covers of Venom and Exciter, but got better recognition on the tape trading circuit with their 1986 demo Reanimation. And although we hadn't heard from them since their 2009 record, they're certainly back with a vengeance, with their 6th studio album, logically titled Volume 6. This is Sacrifice. So this album delivers quintessential sacrifice thrash, combining furious speed riffs, aggressive drumming, and Rob's distinctive screeching vocals, with a relentless energy that feels timeless. While firmly rooted in their classic sound, the band stretches out with prog-leaning passages, inventive solos, and 2 dynamic instrumentals that explore varied tempos and melodic ideas without losing their thrash core. The record balances raw aggression with occasional experimental touches, giving it both intensity and depth, even if a few moments feel slightly out of place. Overall, it's a compelling, high-energy record that captures the essence of sacrifice while offering subtle new dimensions. Favorites are Antidote to Poison, Your Hunger for War, and Incoming Mass Extinction. So at number 8 is Volume 6 by Sacrifice. And number 7 is an album from an American thrash band originally called Onslaught before they found out there was already a certain British band by that name. This band was also instrumental in the revival of thrash in the 2000s, along with bands such as Havoc and Municipal Waste. And now with their 7th studio album, Wrath and Ruin, they are indisputably stronger than ever. Of course, this is Warbringer. So this album showcases Warbringer's signature brand of aggressive epic thrash, blending roaring vocals, intense drumming, and dual guitar interplay, with memorable solos and chuggy headbanging riffs. While rooted in classic thrash, the record stretches the band's sound with occasional acoustic passages, atmospheric touches, and brief black metal flourishes that add variety without overwhelming the core energy. Longer dramatic tracks bookend each side, giving the album a sense of structure and grandeur, while the overall songwriting balances aggression, melody, and dynamic shifts, making it a powerful and engaging statement from the band. Favorites include The Sword and the Cross, The Jackhammer, and Strike from the Sky. So at number 7 is Wrath and Ruin by Warbringer. My number 6 choice is from an American death metal band who refers to themselves as a conceptual tribute act, right down to the emulated band's songwriting structure, guitar tone, and lyrical themes. And on their 3rd studio album, they have certainly paid full respect to a certain classic record. Of course, I'm talking about the band Gruesome and their 3rd studio album, Silent Echoes. So Silent Echoes is a loving homage to Death's Human album, capturing the early 90s technical and progressive death metal sound with remarkable fidelity. The album balances rapid riffing, shifting drum patterns, and intricate expressive solos that often recall Chuck Schuldiner's style, with occasional modern touches enhanced, but never overpowering the vintage feel. Production evokes the classic Morrisound era tone, giving the record an authentic early 90s vibe, and the songwriting stays tight and cohesive, exploring both technical prowess and melodic interplay. And at just over 30 minutes, it's concise but packed with energy, making it feel like a natural continuation or lost chapter of Death's groundbreaking era. Favorites are Condemned Identity, A Darkened Window, and Silent Echoes. So at number 6 is Silent Echoes by Gruesome. And number 5 is an album from an old-school British death metal band who experienced a massive resurgence in the 2020s following the return of their classic vocalist. In fact, one could argue that their modern output matches and even tops some of their early albums, which are already considered high points of the genre. And this includes their 9th studio album, proving once again that this band is not resting on its laurels. The album is Ravage of Empires, and the band is Benediction. So this album delivers classic Benediction-style death metal with relentless speed, crushing riffs, and deep aggressive vocals, while balancing old school intensity with modern precision. The band's performance is tight across the board, from ferocious drumming and dynamic double bass to intricate solos and bass guitar lines that hold their own. Songwriting combines head-banging riffs with varied patterns and memorable choruses, giving the record both power and diversity. Overall, it's a commanding display of technical skill, aggression, and consistency, proving Benediction remains a force in death metal rather than just a legacy act. Favorites include Genesis Chamber, Engines of War, and Ravage of Empires. So at number 5 is Ravage of Empires by Benediction. My number 4 choice is from a British gothic metal band that was originally inspired by Celtic Frost and Bathory, but then moved through a number of musical phases in the decades to follow, finally landing on gothic metal with strong roots in death doom in the modern day. And that reconciliation with their past is amply shown on their 17th studio album, simply titled Ascension. This is Paradise Lost. So the album blends doom, gothic, and melodic death elements into a deeply atmospheric and dynamic record, balancing crushing heaviness with somber emotive passages. Vocals range from deep growls to clean crooning, often recalling past influences like Type O Negative or even classic Metallica, while showcasing a wider, more diverse palette. Guitar work is both mournful and intricate, with solos that enhance the sorrowful, tragic tone of the music. The record thrives on contrasts, shifting between pounding riffs, slower atmospheric sections, and semi-ballad moments, creating a cohesive but unpredictable journey that emphasizes mood, melody, and dramatic intensity throughout. Favorites are Serpent on the Cross, Tyrant's Serenade, and Deceivers. So at number 4 is Ascension by Paradise Lost. At number 3 is an album from a Polish blackened death metal band that began as a raw and purely black metal act in the early 1990s, but later leaned into a more theatrical and bombastic death metal sound. And despite the naysayers, the band still manages to balance extremity and accessibility well, while embracing conflict and excelling in visual grotesquerie. And all that is captured on their 13th studio album, The Shit of God. This is Behemoth. So this album delivers a dark theatrical mix of black and death metal, combining ferocious riffing, blast beats, and commanding growls, with orchestral and choral elements that give it an epic militant atmosphere. Lyrically, it leans into satanic and dramatic themes, with occasional playful moments that don't overshadow the music's intensity. The record balances fast, aggressive passages with slower, ponderous sections, creating dynamic peaks and valleys, while production and arrangement emphasize both bombast and cinematic scope. Overall, it's a powerful atmospheric record that showcases Nurgle's signature vision, with plenty of ferocity, drama, and memorable moments throughout. Favorites include The Shadow Elite, The Shit of God, and O Venus Come. So at number 3 is The Shit of God by Behemoth. My number 2 choice is from an American thrash metal band who came out of the genre's second wave of acts, including Death Angel, Forbidden, and Violence. And even after lineup changes, a cancer scare, shifts in producers and labels, and no past radio support, they still boast a consistent catalog, strong live shows, and some solid talent from their long-term members. So it should come as no surprise that their 14th studio album, entitled Parabellum, should be this high on my list, and no doubt the list of others. Of course, this is Testament. So this record finds Testament once again blending their classic thrash foundation with heavier death and black metal elements, including blast beats, rapid staccato riffs, and occasional pick scrapes, all delivered with beefy, modern production. The band balances aggressive, high-energy tracks with melodic flourishes, intricate solos, and even a power ballad, giving the album a wide range of tempos and moods while remaining unmistakably Testament. With dynamic peaks and valleys, tight songwriting, and a strong new performance from drummer Chris Dovas, the album successfully expands the band's sound without losing the core identity fans expect. Favorites are For the Love of Pain, Infanticide AI, and Parabellum. So at number 2 is Parabellum by Testament. And my number 1 album of 2025 is from a Swiss technical thrash metal band that started out as roadies for Celtic Frost, but soon after became legendary. First for their chaotic speed thrash, then later for their musical complexity and dark tone. In many ways, they were vastly ahead of their peers when considering how so many technical and progressive thrash bands came after them. We didn't get an album from this band for the last 32 years, but with their 6th and latest studio record entitled Dissonance Theory, they are truly back with a vengeance. So yes, this is Coroner. So the album delivers Coroner's signature blend of technical precision and progressive metal, pairing complex, unpredictable song structures with relentless riffing and pounding drums. The band balances head-banging heaviness with sudden tempo shifts, layered discordant guitar harmonies, and unexpected instrumental touches, from pitch bends to Hammond organs, keeping listeners constantly on their toes. Compared to previous efforts, the production is beefier, the songwriting stronger, and while it nods to their classic sounds, it feels entirely modern without leaning on nostalgia. Overall, it's a cohesive, dynamic, and inventive record that feels like the true successor to, not Grin, but Mental Vortex. Favorites include Consequence, Critium Bound, and Renewal. So the top metal album of 2025, for me, is Dissonance Theory by Coroner. Of course, these weren't the only albums released in 2025, so just to be fair, let's briefly mention the albums that others might be talking about this year, but simply didn't make my list. First is the 17th studio album from German thrash metal band Sodom. This is The Arsonist. And I'm probably in the vast minority of metal fans here who really didn't love this record, and much more favored the Destruction album instead. I more or less liked the previous 2 Sodom albums, but this one just didn't connect with me at all. Maybe it will later on, but for now, I'm just not motivated to get it. Next is the 13th studio album from Polish black and death metal band Hate. This is Bellum Regis, and upon listening to it again after so many months, I really don't know why I didn't get it. It's actually not bad, so yeah. That's my answer. I just didn't know why I didn't get it. Also in 2025, we got the 9th studio album from Canadian tech death band Cryptopsy. This is An Insatiable Violence. So it's fair to say that tech death and I have a rather complicated relationship. I mean, I like a little of it and hate most of it. Cryptopsy is one of those classic bands that I truly respect, and I like their early material to a degree, but everything else just leaves me cold. So I didn't pick this one up. I should also mention the 4th studio album from Danish death metal band Based. This is Colossal, and the reason I avoided buying this record might be similar to why others might have actually bought it, and that's the radical style change here. I mean, I love this band, and I have the last couple releases before this record, but I really don't like this album, save for a few scant tracks that remind me of previous releases, but that just wasn't enough to justify the purchase, so I passed on it. Also of relevance to 2025 is the 14th studio album from American power metal band Vicious Rumors. This is The Devil's Asylum, and I just don't think this measures up at all to their previous album Celebration Decay. Part of it is my dislike in the vocals, and yes, Vicious Rumors swaps out yet another singer, and I believe this is the 12th one they've had, which is starting to get kind of annoying. So yeah, not buying it. And of course, some folks will also be talking about the 5th studio album from American thrash metal band Dark Angel. This is Extinction Level Event, and likely not a surprise as this release has gotten a ton of backlash from much of the metal community for not living up to the hype or the band's overall reputation. The vocals aren't up to snuff, the production isn't great, and much of the songwriting really isn't there either. Sad really because, like many, I really love the albums before this. I mean, I may try to give this album another chance in the future, but just not sure I even will. Again, I hate saying any of this. I would have rather loved it. So given my choices, it appears that this was really an amazing year for thrash metal, but for other genres as well. However, I'm sure you have your own list, be it top 10, top 20 or more. You should let me know what your picks are, whether it's a comment or even if you made a video. Definitely like to see that. And like previous years, I don't do full reviews of my end of year list as I already did that in past episodes of Vinyl Haul, so watch those for that. I provided links in the description of this video to each and every one of those episodes. And if you merely stumbled on my channel looking for top 10 albums of 2025 videos but don't know what else I do, my name is Matt and this is the Accusation Network, where each and every week I cover the subjects of metal vinyl collecting, but also classic and modern metal in general. If that sounds like something you want to watch, you should definitely consider subscribing to the channel. Maybe also like this video, and maybe even share it with some of your friends on social media. And as for my regular viewers, a big thanks to all of you who've taken the time to watch my videos, comment on them, share them on social media, and join up on Patreon. Hugely appreciate any and all support, and looking forward to making more videos for you in 2026. Until then, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.